Hey everybody, welcome back to RPG Imaginings. I received a PDF copy of Chaosium's 40th Anniversary Keeper Tips book, and my understanding is that this is a small format book that is being produced as a leatherette version, and you'll be able to get the uh, physical version of this sometime next year, but this is a nice little release to coincide with the 40th anniversary around October and November for Chaosium. And so what I thought I would do today is just give you a little overview of what is in the Keeper Tips book based upon the PDF, and we'll read through a section together and think about what it says. I also want to make sure that I do the intro as well. So here we are at the credits page. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit because this shows who was involved, and I mean these are some huge names in Call of Cthulhu. And what I really like about this is that this is a great mix of people who have been around from the very beginning all the way through the mid-years of the games, all the way up to modern times with Bridget Jeffries and Becca Scott and Seth Skorkowski offering tips on this book. And so that is awesome. And so we're going to start off here with the contents page showing sort of what is available in the book. I'll comment in a little bit about what I like about how this is organized. It is organized by thread or by type of advice. And I'll mention a little later on another thing that Chaosium did here that I think is really great. And so we have sections on, well, we have an introduction, we have setting ground rules for your game, inclusivity, preparation, players, sensitivity, designing scenarios, gameplay, keepering, horror, sanity, the Cthulhu mythos, non-player characters, monsters, online play, props and handouts, miscellaneous, resources, and then the biographies. And I'm going to start off here by, let's just check out the introduction to the book, and then there's one section in particular that I want to showcase because it's really important to me and it's what my channel is basically all about. So introduction, a gathering of wisdom, advice, and tips from keepers for keepers of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. And this is by Mike Mason, by the way. Released as part of the 40th anniversary of Call of Cthulhu, this book is aimed at anyone, whether veteran or novice, who plays this well-loved table game, but is particularly aimed at those who undertake to run, referee, and potentially craft their own scenarios. The information herein stems from a diverse range of people, some who have been running the game since its birth, and others who might be considered to have fresher outlooks. All have presented what they consider to be their most useful and insightful advice. Some of the tips are contradictory. Some repeat or reinforce advice. Imagine, if you will, that you are sat with a group of experienced keepers, each sharing and building upon the ideas of the others. Take from this what you will. You may agree or disagree with some things. That's good. Consider the advice and turn it into something useful for you, or just ignore the stuff that doesn't appeal. Hopefully what's in these pages allows you to dip in once in a while and find a new nugget of inspiration. If you are a long-time keeper, thank you for your service. If you are new and just starting out, welcome. I hope you enjoy the journey. And that's from Mike Mason here in this year 2021. Now I'm going to go back up to the top here, and out of all these categories I could pick one of them, so I always want to be judicious about what I offer up on these videos because they are sponsored, but of course I don't want to have too much of the book put forth here. I just want to give people a taste, and also because, if I were to present a bulk of the book, then that wouldn't really be fair to Chaosium. So I'm going to go ahead and read the sensitivity section to everybody because I think that this is one of the most important aspects of modern gaming. And this channel, RPG Imaginings, is pretty much all about gaming for all and making sure that everybody feels welcome at a table. And, I see comments from referees, from keepers all the time, commenting about how they're struggling with the table, and they don't seem to make the connection that how players feel at their table matters, and that yes, they have a perspective, but there are other perspectives at the table, and all of those perspectives should be given space and a voice and should be able to feel comfortable at that table. So let's talk a little bit about sensitivity and see what advice this group of amazing keepers had for us. So, be sensitive to identity. Be sure to ask your players about their investigators' gender and racial identities. Not making assumptions makes your players feel more comfortable and in control, even if their investigators certainly are not. Next. Oh, and so I wanted to comment on this. So basically, each of these is just a little blurb provided by a longtime or current keeper of the game. And I like how it is not identified who has given the tips because it makes the content stand forward rather than the individual stand forward. And I think that it is a credit to Chaosium that they made this decision because it basically puts newer voices in this tome of knowledge on equal footing with some of the classic writers and people involved with the game. And I think that that's just really professional practice coming from the perspective of a professional. So that's something that I especially wanted to comment on, that I like the decision that was made in this book for that reason. Second one, setting tone and expectations before play with the group is important. What do you expect from your players? And what do they expect from you? Will the game be serious or frivolous? How often do you meet? What if someone isn't enjoying themselves? How do you address that? Gosh, those are good questions. I can't tell you how many times I've seen keepers struggling, and you'll ask them a question like, well, did you ask your players? And the answer is no. Look, folks, I understand that communication is difficult and challenging. Okay, but so many problems in the world are solved by communication. So the question, I think, is, do you really want to solve problems, or is it like there's this line of discomfort that you're unwilling to cross in order to solve the problems? Well, if you're unwilling to cross that line, you're not going to get solutions to the problems. It's that simple. So there are things that you can do as a keeper, like by asking these questions, that can make a difference. Call of Cthulhu is played all over the world. If you're writing a scenario, be mindful that not every keeper or player is from your country or culture. Don't assume that your area's historical knowledge is known worldwide. Provide context to assist the keeper and their players. This is something that I really had to think of when I was writing my scenario test subjects for the Miskatonic Repository. And, go check that out. I have it set at a really cheap price right now, so that if you'd like a buy-in on that you could. And one of my goals with test subjects was to feature some lesser known communities. So Boston is there, of course, but the scenario also features Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It also features Omaha, Nebraska. Something that I think that I want to add sometime in the future is maps of those locations, although the scenario is not really designed for someone to need maps, but that is definitely something that I tried to think of, that since we have huge communities in a variety of different countries, what did I have to provide in order for people to understand what was going on? Next. This is a horror game, so be sure to let the players know that before you start. Have a discussion on what sort of things people are happy with in the game and what things they may want to steer clear of. Everybody has their own lines for horror, and just because your bar is set higher than other people, doesn't mean that they should have to come to your level. Everybody's comfort matters. Never attempt to leverage players' real-life fears or anxieties against them to provoke a horror response. Good one. Provoking a traumatic response in your players does not equate to effectively evoking horror. The horror is meant to be in the game, not in real life. I cannot illustrate how important it is for a table to craft a game-life balance and separation. Okay? If someone has a trauma in their life that is triggering for them and they have fears or anxieties, it is the job of the keeper to learn about that, become aware about that, and help that player to manage their comfort level. And if your response to that is too bad, I shouldn't have to do anything to help you in any way, shape, or form, I struggle to see how people are enjoying play at your table. Okay? Keepers need to be leaders, and leadership is supporting people, not stomping people down. Okay, so work on your leadership skills. I think that that's an important thing for people to do. Dealing with real life prejudices in your games in the name of historical accuracy should only feature in your games if that's the sort of experience everyone at the table is interested in exploring. Ask and talk to your players beforehand. Excellent advice. Okay, historical accuracy is not carte blanche. It is not get out of jail free card or something for your decisions as a keeper. When a question arises of inclusion of a character from a historically marginalized group, do not fall back on received wisdom about the status of that community at the time. Do your own research first. Okay, it is always good practice for any human being to do research before making judgment calls. There's this saying, when you assume you make, you can finish that one off, okay? Because, I don't want YouTube to demonetize this. Everyone has boundaries. If you cross someone's boundary, things can stop being fun. Descriptions and scenarios of animal abuse and child endangerment are obvious risk points, but it can be really difficult to know where these boundaries lie for individuals. For example, you might introduce an NPC who chain smokes, but one of your players is trying to give up smoking, and what you see as an innocent bit of characterization makes them really uncomfortable. You don't have to anticipate everything or make your game bland. Call of Cthulhu is horror after all. But don't assume that just because you think something is fair game in fiction that everyone else will agree. Accept that people have genuine differences, and also that an individual's boundaries can shift depending upon their daily life circumstances. If you step over a line, even through no fault of your own, apologize and back off from the description. That's really good advice, because there's this attitude floating around out there that perfection is expected. And that is not what is expected. What's expected is that you work to be a decent and kind human being to other people. So if you make a mistake, own up to it. Like, I can't think of how many times as a professional educator I've apologized to children. Thousands of times. Because as an adult and as a leader, when you mess up, it's on you to apologize. And if you can't bring yourself to apologize and work to get better, then you're not really leading, okay? Leadership is coming from a position of humility. You have to work on your humility to be a good keeper, too. It's a really good example. Never yell in a player's face when role-playing a villain, and avoid personal abuse even in character. That sort of thing bypasses the "we're playing a game here" bit of the brain and goes straight to the trauma processing part. It can evoke what seems like a disproportional reaction, which might derail your player and your game. This is a really good one to end on here, because it's important, I think, for every keeper and every person who role plays to recognize that you might have an idea of what makes great fiction, and that's fine. That's your perspective, but there are 2, 3, 4, 5 other people at your table. And role playing is really a collaborative exercise. It really is. Yeah, you might work on setting up a situation as a keeper. Keeping became so much less stressful for me when I let go of my own ideas and let everybody's ideas move the game. That was the key defining factor for me. And as I've commented many times over the last year or so on the channel and elsewhere, I feel so much more comfortable as a keeper now that I've approached the process as, what are my players going to do next? And what kind of quick decision making do I need to do in the moment in order to make this a compelling story for them and for all of us collectively? And so I can never tell you how one of my games is going to end. Okay, I could tell you that I'm about to play the second half of the second chapter of Children of Fear. And you may ask, how do you think it's going to end? And we all may have a sense of what's going on in chapter 2 of Children of Fear, but I can't tell you how it's exactly going to end. I'm going to go based off of my player experiences. And so respect of other people's experiences is a critical aspect of what we do. And so there's a preview of the short little sensitivity section in this Keeper Tips book that Chaosium has released for the 40th anniversary. Don't worry, my Hero Quest video is still coming. I've had to work around some professional work that I've had to do. I've been very, very busy over the last couple weeks. So I wanted to get this quick little easy video out on the channel for people who are curious about what was going on with the Keeper Tips book for Call of Cthulhu. And of course, I will jump to Hero Quest as soon as I get a chance. Heck, maybe even tomorrow. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I got out a video today to continue to celebrate 1,000 subs on the channel, and to showcase for you some of the stuff that Chaosium sent my way. And so thanks everybody so much for watching, and have a great day.